So what is this error about? The problem is that we are storing a review object in our session. So we're not storing a dictionary, we're not storing a list or a boolean or a string, we are storing an object. Now, under the hood, Django takes whatever we store in a session and serializes it to a format called JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation and is a popular data format in web development. The problem is that objects can't be serialized to that because they don't just contain data, but they can also contain methods, and those can't be translated to JSON. That's why we can't store an object like this in our session. Hence, you should not store objects in your session. Instead, store primitive values like strings in sessions or store dictionaries in sessions, but don't store objects there. And indeed here, it would be much better if we don't even get our review, but instead we store just the review ID in our session. Because when we later need that data, which is probably the case when we render this detailed view, then we might just be interested in getting that ID of that favorite review instead of the full review object, because we're already fetching the full review object here anyways. So storing just a primitive value, like a string, or in this case, the ID, which is in the end just a number, that is something we can do and we should do instead of storing full objects in our sessions. And that's an important takeaway. You want to come up with a solution where you store simple values in a session. Don't store complex values, don't store objects in there. Keep it simple, store strings, numbers, booleans, or maybe dictionaries, but not objects. So here, I will not get my favorite review. Instead, I'll just store the review ID in my session here. And if we do that, and we do just store that ID, if I now favorite this, it works. And I'm redirected back here, and this data is stored in the session. So now let's utilize it, and let's also read from that session.